What's up G fam, this is Justin from Studio G and welcome to another tutorial Tuesday on G Academy. And today, let's look at how you can create your own custom katana weapon system thingy going on for your gunpla. Let's do this. First thing first, before we start anything else, let's look at the tools that you need. You're gonna be needing hobby knives, rulers, nippers, Tamiya cement, sanding sticks, and last but not least, a hobby drill. For material wise, it's relatively simple. It's just the usual runners with some plot plates. And for the weapon itself, for the katanas, it's actually from a lot of ST Barbatos that I actually purchased and built to test out G-paint, the quality for quality checking, and to see how the surface is like, how the paint does and all that. So anyway. G-paint link in the description. Step 1 is usually on conceptualizing and giving birth to your idea itself. I usually achieve that using a pen and paper, but recently, since that I have been doing a lot of this, I just use reference photos from Pinterest, from Google Images and all that, and I kind of conceptualize the entire idea in my head, so I kind of stopped using pen and paper. But you should do it as a form of practice, and if you want to get things down like right to the detail part, definitely draft out and sketch out your design itself so that you don't waste too much time on fondling around with all the parts and all the plot plates and making mistakes and whatnot. Step 2 involves cutting the plot plates to the correct sizes. So for this katana itself, it's actually not that big. It's just that each holder itself has 4 sides that you need to cut it out. So for me, what I do is I measure out the width of the katanas as well as the thickness of the katanas to figure out what are the sizes for the sides, right? What are the measurements? And then on you go with cutting down plot plates and chopping them to sizes. And for this process, I'm just using a ruler as well as a hobby knife. To be honest, you don't have to cut all the way through on your plot plates. You can just cut like a little bit and then just snap it off. It works just as fine. And also remember to cut it slightly bigger than your intended size. For example, let's say if you want to make it 1 centimeter on the side itself, then please cut at least a couple millimeters apart because you do need to sand them down to perfection. So you gotta give yourself some leeway over there. So for these katana holders and for this entire katana system here, I need to create 5 holders. So for 5, each holder has 4 sides. So I need to cut at least 20 pieces and a couple extras for just in case. Step 3 would be for gluing all the pieces together. And for gluing all the sides together, first of all, I use Tamiya cement. I used extra thin kind, but you can use basically any type of cement from Tamiya. They work just fine as well. But definitely try to refrain yourself and definitely try to stay away from using super glue on this build itself because you kind of need that leeway of time, like for example 40 seconds drying time, right? So you have around 40 seconds itself to try and do some micro adjustments to your attachments. And for super glue, it's just too fast. It sets too fast, so definitely use some Tamiya cement. And also Tamiya cement, it does provide a stronger bond because it actually melts the 2 plot surface itself and then binding them like that, just like how you would solder a metal. Super glue itself, it doesn't melt the plastic, it doesn't melt anything. It just creates an adhesive bond between the 2 plates and it will just snap off like that if you are being too rough with it. So glue them up all and make them boxy, and make sure one thing is to always double check, triple check that your katana can go in and go out smoothly and not too tight, not too loose. Step 4 involves cutting and sanding. So remember when I said that whenever you're cutting the sides, like for example side A, side B, side C, side D, 4 sides all together. Make sure that you make them bigger than usual. So this is the time where you can cut them down to size and then sand it out smoothly. So that's the trick. If you're trying to achieve perfection on first try, it's gonna be really hard. It takes a surgeon to do something like that, and too bad I'm not a surgeon. So definitely giving myself some leeway, some space to work around by cutting my plot plates, my sides a little bit bigger, so that now I can trim them down and sand it off. One thing you gotta keep in mind while doing all this sanding and cutting is that try not to cut it like all the way through, but instead try to sand it down flat instead. So the key thing is that it's best if you can sand it down with your sandpaper or sanding stick on the table itself, and then you working on top instead of holding it mid-air while doing it. Doing so will allow you to have a really flat surface. Make sure that every surface itself is sanded evenly so that you don't have any curves and any unwanted curves actually while you're sanding. And definitely use a cleaning cloth, like having cleaning cloth just right beside you so that you can clean the parts always, just to see the progress of your sanding, because sometimes sanding dust can be kinda intrusive, I would say, and it gets in your nose, it gets in the air. And one more thing is that cleaning your parts while you are sanding always allows you to see perfectly on the progression of your sanding. Now you got all your boxes done, like 5 pieces for me. So what I gotta do is I have a backpack system thing for the green gate itself that holds the katana holder, that holds the katana. So the thing is that right now I gotta connect 3 holders together, and I do so by using runners. First thing first, pick up the smoothest runner you can find, the one without any kind of pegs or connection, so that you don't have to waste too much time in cleaning them off. And then what you gotta do is just to measure how far apart each holder needs to be, and then just cut off the runners itself. And next is to find out where you want to drill the holes. For me, the holder itself, I'm going to drill right on in dead center, and then just drill them to size, put the runners in, apply some Tamiya cement, make some minor adjustment, and then just leave them to dry for a couple of minutes. And then after that, you are done. And if you have some excess running out from the runners, from the gluing process, just use a hobby knife and some sanding papers to clean them off smoothly and beautifully. Like, to be honest, my holder itself is not exactly perfect because I kind of messed up that part. I didn't pay too much attention to it, and then it kind of got really gunky, and I just forgot to clean them out until I painted them, and I saw like, oh shit. You know what? But it's fine. It's all the learning process. This is my first time doing it, so it will get better with time. Step 6, and also should be the last step, is to paint them up. For this, I would like to pair it with my Grimgate industrial look, so the entire holder itself is gonna get an orange treatment. For primer itself, I went for Mr. Surfacer 1200 and then top it off with my self mix using red and yellow to create orange. Basically, the color scheme itself is very simple, and once I'm done with the orange, I'm basically done. The whole thing is gonna be in orange anyway, so to really capture the look itself, I decided to weather it, making some paint chips, because if you are constantly taking out your katana from the holder in and out, it's gonna create some scratches and some paint chips and all that. So I did the weathering itself. But before the weathering, I decided to put on some decals to really highlight some of the details and make it more realistic. So basically that's it. Katana holder itself is just some parts made up from plot plates and some runners with some glues. So it's really not that hard to create one for yourself. And you know what? With this tutorial and me sharing with you on how to do all this, you can come up even better stuff than I did. You gotta wait for the bike to go over. Still there. Still going. Still waiting for the car. So one thing you gotta remember is that don't let your resources limit you to whatever you can create. If you don't have plot plates, you know those little tabs that you see on runners? Those can be used to create any part that you want as well. Just sand them down, cut out all the embossed lettering that is on that plate itself, and then sand them down flat, and you got yourself a plot plate already. It might not be a big sheet of plot plate, but you know what? It's certainly enough for you to create this custom weapon holder system. I hope you guys can create more and do more with this hobby itself, because this hobby is awesome and it has changed my life, and I hope that it will bring some values to your life as well. Again, I hope that you guys learned something today. This is Justin from Studio G, and this is G Academy. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.